Hey, this is Qesankh Kheperu for New World Dimensions, and I'm here in Bryant Park in New York City, about to watch a movie on the big screen. They have them every Monday night, but I wanted to record a video and talk to you about being centered. I'm sure you've all heard that term, which comes out of Eastern philosophy, but it's been perverted and misinterpreted by Western culture. So I want to really explain to you what it means to be centered and why this is something you should be striving for. Life is very difficult. In fact, life will chew you up and spit you out. And a number of people, it's within their destiny to go through, you know, difficulty after difficulty after difficulty. That's their destiny. This is their path, you know. But the one thing that you can control, because you cannot control external events, things are going to happen to you. You could be a very good person. You can be a saint here on earth, but being a saint, being a good person, doesn't mean that you won't be faced by challenges and that bad things won't happen to you. And I take issue with a lot of the Western religions, the Christian religions, Judaism, Catholicism, which promotes the idea of if you're good, good things will happen to you, and that's simply not true. The movie's starting. But anyway, the idea of being centered is that no matter what life throws your way, you operate from a point of indifference almost, where you're not being moved or swayed by the tides of life. It doesn't mean that you're not emotionally involved. You're still emotionally involved, but you've learned not to react to whatever is coming your way. And this is what it is to be centered. Now, sometimes life throws at individuals so many challenges, so many difficulties, that it will shock your system to the point of where consciousness is withdrawn to a centralized point, and where you now become an observer of things outside of you. You're just observing things, and you're no longer emotionally invested in it, if that makes sense. That's being centered. And that usually happens, again, when you are at the verge of being emotionally torn apart by challenge after challenge after challenge, to the point of where you realize that there's nothing else that you can do to resolve those issues but to withdraw consciousness to that centralized point within you. And in the I-Ching, it's symbolized by the 50-second hexagram, which is called keeping still. That's what it means to be centered. And let me clarify this point, because this is very important. You cannot actively will yourself to be centered. It is a muscle, a skill that you learn over the course of meeting challenges. So you can say to yourself when faced with a great difficulty, I'm going to be centered, but it's not necessarily going to happen. What you're going to have to do is go through the difficulties of life until you get to a point where you learn to withdraw your consciousness to that centralized point and become the observer, to watch things and observe things and not be directly emotionally invested in it. So that's what it means to be centered. And I wanted to clear that up with you. Too many people are going around out there doing some type of meditation and talking about they're centered and all that, when the reality is, I'm not going to lie, it's a very difficult point to get to. But when you get to it, it is wonderful, because you no longer are subjected to the pain of life and the challenges of life. You start to see a little bit more clearly. You start not to react to what's going on, to become wiser. And it's a wonderful place to be, but it comes with a price to pay, meaning you have to go through life and numerous challenges to get there. So this is Qesankh Kheperu with New World Dimensions. That's all for now.